Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Hi, everybody. It's that little old arachnid, me.
And we got Chris.
One more peep out of you, and you know what time it'll be.
Clobbering time.
Yeah,
And I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. We are reading some Spider-Man today. Is this two episodes in a row we've done Spider-Man, technically?
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't feel like it.
He doesn't really appear in the first one.
Every time,
true,
every
that's
now
true.
and then, I think like I want to do like a Mr. Show handoff, you know, where the sketches just kind of like blend into each other and they never really end. And so I was like, Boomerang was in the last one. Boomerang's in this one. Let's just and the Owl was also in our last episode, which was a while ago, but we took break for Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. And so I was trying to think like maybe we could do like some connection, but then maybe Bill Mantlo from this one had some connection with Shazam or something for another episode. It doesn't. We're not doing Shazam either, but every now and then I try to get clever.
Created Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, really? I tried to watch that today. It was a holiday today. And then I was going to watch it with the kids, and then it's just like Guardians 3 is just like tons of traumatizing imagery of a baby raccoon, and I'm like, I can't watch this around a little 5-year-old. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So
I like that movie, but it is sad.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you know, it's just going to be Chris Pratt making goofy jokes, and then I'm like, oh man, we're torturing a raccoon. I can't watch this. So
yeah, especially when you meet all his like little animal friends, and you're like, well, I've never met any of these animal friends before.
Oh no, I didn't get that far. So I guess we put the cart before the horse. Bill Mantlo created Rocket Raccoon.
Yes, or
we should say what we're actually reading here. We are reading Spectacular Spider-Man number 73 through 79. This is the Owl-Octopus War from 1982. Bill Mantlo, the famous creator of Rocket Raccoon, wrote this. Al Milgrom did the art. Last time I wrote down Roger Stern's name because you said he was involved, but I couldn't find his name attached to this anywhere. I found Tom DeFalco as editor.
He was writing Amazing Spider-Man, I think, around this time.
Okay, good. But of course, and afterwards, we are continuing our long read of Earth X. We're on number 7, back half here.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
Stay tuned.
It's very exciting here. Can't wait for stuff to happen. But let's get into Spectacular Spider-Man here. I was reading out of the Marvel Masterworks collection. It was Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 6. I think, Chris, that's what you're reading as well.
Yes, I was
Vince,
reading a physical copy of it.
Wow. Yeah, me too. And Vince, you were reading out of
Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah,
which just gave me my yearly checkup, or like, you know, whatever, the best deal on the internet. $70 for unlimited Marvel comics published within the last 6 months. I got my money's worth again this year, and you would if you just read
that. If you wait till Thanksgiving time, they always have a sale. It's like $50.
Really? Because like, how much are comics these days? Like $4 or $5 an issue?
Yeah, it's like
they're $8.50.
Jesus.
I think it's $4 for a regular issue and $5 for like certain issues.
Yeah, so if you read 10 issues of comics, just buy Marvel Unlimited. Then Thanksgiving, it'll pay for itself.
Right. We are not making any money off of saying that. But
support their local comic book stores too. Give them some money.
Buy a physical copy to keep in shrink, to keep in the sleeves. Another one to read, and then the digital ones for reading.
That's right. Yeah, buy 3 copies.
Yes, that's the way to save money. But let's jump into it here. Do we really need to? I guess we do need to talk a little bit about how Deb Whitman has been, I guess, a recurring character in Spider-Man's life.
Yes. Vince, why don't you take over on this? You know who this character is.
She's got glasses. She's blonde. She's nerdy. Yeah. She's most famous from the 1994 Spider-Man the Animated Series on Fox Kids, if you're of a certain age. She was very prominent in that show, and
was she?
Yeah.
Yes, she's in like the whole show.
Did she date Michael Morbius?
She did.
Oh, yes, okay.
I remember reading like a review, and it was like, how do Morbius and Deborah Whitman even know each other? I think he ended up dating Felicia Hardy also, but that's a story for another time, although Black Cat is involved here. But I feel like that Spider-Man 90s show, Chris, I think you've said this before, but it's very obvious to me now, heavily borrows from like early 80s Spider-Man. Like Hobgoblin's prominence, not in this arc, but what we've read before. But like the fact that his supporting cast is like Deb Whitman, really.
And Kingpin being a minor villain who doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Should we do the animated series for a long read, a long watch? That might be fun.
That would
Probably not.
Me and Yukia did do an episode of All My Friends Are Right Here, probably like 8 or 9 years ago at this point, about that show. But
Did?
yeah,
I don't know. Any
Chris
of
might
it.
have been on it. I don't remember entirely now. It's the feed is
Definitely
gone.
wasn't.
But,
All right, let's.
it's all on Disney Plus, the DP, if you want some Deb Whitman.
Yeah,
I thought you meant our old podcast on Disney Plus.
Yes, the podcast was picked up on Disney Plus. You have to really know where to look. So the status quo for Spider-Man right now, he is a grad student. It's also what the game borrows a lot from, because it's like he's been Spider-Man for approximately like 6 or 7 years. He is a failing grad student. Aunt May has he's moved out of Aunt May's house. Aunt May has moved out of her the house that Peter grew up in for the moment. She's about to open it up as a boarding school or a boarding house for seniors. But yeah, that's the main stuff. He proposed to Mary Jane probably about 3 years ago. She said no and left the book. Hasn't really seriously dated anyone since then. Black Cat showed up, made 2 appearances, claimed she wanted to go good, flirted with Spider-Man a lot, but then apparently died at the end of that last issue. So that's kind of where we're at. And then Deb Whitman has sort of flirted with him. She's also works in the Empire State Science grad program. But he's like, I don't have time for you, Deb. Like, basically every interaction is that. He destroyed a set of lockers right in front of her. And so she's like, I think this guy is Spider-Man, but that can't be. So that's where we're at.
Great. All right, so let's jump into it here. Spectacular Spider-Man number 73. Peter Parker is at home when some random dude rings the doorbell and busts in, and he says, Peter Parker, you are the Spectacular Spider-Man. And Peter is like, what? And this dude explains.
Such a good cold open.
8-year-old me is on board.
This dude explains, all right, I am Deb Whitman, psychiatrist, and she has gone crazy. She thinks that you are Spider-Man. And we both know, obviously, that's not true. In which case, why did you use that terrible opening line when you met this person for the first time?
Why did you show up in my apartment and threaten me and then be like, no, actually, I'm just breaking patient patient doctor.
HIPAA doesn't exist at this point. I recently learned HIPAA didn't was a Clinton act. So HIPAA doesn't exist for another 10 years.
I guess, but I think there's already a professional code that you're not supposed to do this.
Look, this guy has got a lot of problems.
He's not a good therapist.
There are some dumb people in this book. All right. So he says, listen, here's the plan. We're going to use some shock therapy, and we are going to have you pretend to be Spider-Man so that we can show Deb how ridiculous it is. And Peter says, I don't know about that, Doc. And he's like, well, I thought you wanted to help a friend, but if you don't, then whatever. But here's my card if you change your mind.
So my wife is a therapist, and she does have people who deal with like dissociative disidentity disorder and like other like delusions of grandeur and stuff. And from what I remember her telling me, like, this is the exact wrong way to do it. You do want to show them that like it's ridiculous, but you don't want to do it in that way. You don't want to like validate in any way. Like the opposite way would be like, you're friends with Spider-Man. How about you and Spider-Man take her out to coffee? That would,
Yeah, that would show that it's not true. And then you're not reinforcing a negative belief.
And not telling her she's crazy or anything. Like, you're just kind of like quiet, Like
that was what I was. Maybe it's because I've read that book where like Daredevil was that a Kevin Smith book where Daredevil takes the stand as Spider-Man or something like that.
Yeah, I mean there was a '60s Batman where
tons of stories.
Bruce Wayne had an inflatable Batman in the Batmobile that Bruce Wayne talked to. Yeah.
Yep. There's an episode of the animated series where Robin pretends to be Batman at the end after. What's his name? Hugo Strange learns Bruce Wayne's is Batman, and then Batman shows up, and it's just Robin throwing his voice and walking on stilts.
Yeah, we got options. This therapist has broken into somebody's apartment, led without an
He
introduction.
didn't break in. He rang
knocked.
the doorbell, and I think as Peter was already opening the door, he like slams it open.
Okay.
He does the accusing line. That's what I got out of it. Anyways, we'll talk more about the psychiatrist. Let's move on here.
We're 3 pages into this 8-issue episode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a buckle up.
There's a lot to talk about. So after he leaves, he gets a call from Robbie at the Bugle asking him to go get photographs of Boomerang. He a friend of the show, Boomerang. He's going to be testifying in front of the grand jury. And meanwhile, we also see Owl talking to his minions. He's starting his plan. He says, "Bring me Boomerang." Okay. Spidey goes to this indictment hearing. He sees Ben Urich there. But his Spidey sense goes off at 2 dudes talking over in the corner. He's like, "Oh, what's going on with them?" On the stand, Boomerang refuses to say who he's working for.
Boomerang's name is also Mr. Slade here, which I thought he was
Slade.
Fred. I thought he was Fred Meyer in the Superior Foes
Oh,
program.
you're right.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe
Okay.
they changed at some point, I guess.
I guess Deadshot or no, what's his name?
Slade, yeah, Deadshot.
Slade Wilson.
Yeah.
The Terminator.
Yeah, he filed a cease and desist on Boomerang.
Yeah, change your last name, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, if Roger Stern had been editing this, that wouldn't have happened, right? No. No.
So then District Attorney Tower kind of tears this guy down for a little
friend
bit.
Of the show.
Yeah. From
He was
what?
in She-Hulk, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And he's saying, Boomerang, you're a failure. You're not as good as Bullseye. You're never even going to be a good henchman for Kingpin. He's basically saying, like, we know you're working for Kingpin. And he's like, you got nothing on me or nothing on him. And then Boomerang grabs a pen, throws it, takes out 3 guards, throws the judge's gavel, takes his hostage, and it's like, okay, shit's broken loose. Why did you not have this supervillain, like,
Yeah,
in
why isn't he
handcuffs?
fully restrained at all
Like,
times?
what is going on? Spider-Man swoops in to fight him, webs him up, takes care of it. But the people are scared and distrustful of Spidey. It's always so weird to me when they push that kind of narrative of the people being like, we're scared of you, even though you just saved our lives. Then Peter overhears the goons he sensed earlier. They're talking about how they're going to try and bust out Boomerang, but Spidey showing up ruined it all. And then Boomerang trying to escape on his own. It was also just kind of like, well, shit. But Pete puts a Spidey tracker on them.
I do love that fits the Boomerang we just read in Superior Foes. That he was going to be bailed out, but he's like too stupid and impatient. Where he's like, "No, I'm better than Bullseye." See, and then immediately fails.
So he puts a spider tracker on them, and later that night follows it to the Natural History Museum. And in the museum, it is where the Owl seems to be gathering his people. He's got all his henchmen there. He's disappointed he couldn't get Boomerang. And then Doc Ock comes in for a meeting. Ooh, Owl has invited him there, but Doc Ock is there to reject the Owl's offer to join forces. So they're going to fight. Doc Ock doesn't need anyone's help.
I love how hurt the Owl is. He's like,
Yeah.
but I trusted you.
Yeah, I told you about my plan. He's like, that was your plan. It was a failure.
I was like, why did you think that was a good idea, Owl?
Spider-Man is watching all this. He realizes that an Owl-Octopus war could spill over to the city, hurt people, so he jumps in. And so as soon as he jumps in, Doc Ock agrees to combine their power temporarily to take down Spider-Man. Cool. Nice decision, Peter.
Spider-Man's so stupid.
Yep. So Spidey kind of runs out to the Hayden Planetarium to get away from all the goons, and they follow him.
That's
He
where
flashes
Neil deGrasse Tyson works.
This
I don't
was
think
a
he
cool-
works
This was
there.
a cool fight scene.
It was a cool fight. I will say, in general, one of the kind of recurring things I was writing down throughout the whole thing is just great set pieces for all the fight scenes. And this was the first one, and I was like, yeah, just like a fun way to do it where it's like the goons can't quite see exactly where everything is because there's so many lights and stuff flashing, and the art, like the backgrounds are kind of blended into the black on Spider-Man's costume. It's very nice. Octopus, like as the Owl is walking to the planetarium, Octopus realizes that Owl is walking a little bit strange. Spidey did mention something about how Owl was crippled the last time they saw him in some Marvel team-up issue. And Owl, we hear him think to himself, oh, Doc Ock cannot find out about these braces that are helping me stand here. So he's injured. Owl flies in to fight Spider-Man, and Dr. Ock is like, you know what? I'll just let them handle each other. I'm going to get out of here. Spidey then heads home, disappointed that he didn't actually accomplish anything today. He calls the psychiatrist and agrees to help Deborah Whitman. On to the next issue here.
I love the cover of this next issue where it's just tiny Spider-Man crawling all over her.
Yes, all over Deb Whitman's face. And it says, "This is it, the mind-shattering conclusion to the Deborah Whitman saga."
The saga that we
Yes, I didn't realize that's what it was. It was only the second Deb Whitman issue I'd ever read. Peter is... this is again, it's some sort of breach of confidentiality, I'm sure, where there is a session happening with Deb and her psychiatrist, and Peter is in the bathroom listening in.
This can't be okay.
Like, good thing she didn't need to use the restroom, you know? Like that.
Vince, you can vouch for this. You don't just listen in on your wife's.
It's quite common on telehealth. Yeah, it's really quite common to just have somebody sitting in the room waiting there to then blindside them halfway through. Yeah, it's always really good call.
Yep. But during her session, she's talking about how she's basically figured out that he's Spider-Man. He's talking about it afterwards. Peter is aware that it could be one of her delusions, but he's also just like, "Ooh, I've been careless. She's probably figured it out here."
Yeah. Earlier, her ex-boyfriend was like, "Hey, you made my ex-girlfriend cry," and he's like, "Shut up," and like knocks him out. So it's
Peter,
like, you've been pretty sloppy, Peter.
He's acting rash. I didn't read those other issues where that happened, but he acts very rash about some other stuff in these issues here, and it feels out of character for Peter. I don't know. We'll get to it.
It does feel like in a video game, like he is like sleep deprived. Like he is just so out of it. Like every day in class, they show him he's just sleeping through every class, and you're just like, yeah, like why are you doing this?
Yeah. I do love the costume though.
Yes,
the bad costume that the psychiatrist
it says Spider-Man on it. This is the first time I wrote down panel of the week, but then it was not the panel of the week. But I did just like Peter standing there holding one hand on his face, saying, "You want me to pretend to be Spider-Man?" I just thought that was very amusing. But anyways, Spider-Man leaves the office there. He says he does not want to do that plan. He's like, "I'm going to help her my own way." So he gets out of there.
I mean, like, this doctor is really bad. Like, don't get me fucking wrong.
Yes.
But, like, also, like, the hubris of Peter to be like, I'm going to do things my own way, not this expert.
Yeah. I can cure her.
Yeah.
So as he leaves, we see a shadowy figure watching him from the rooftops, which looks an awful lot like Black Cat. But y'all just told me she was dead, so it can't be her.
A busty, shadowy figure.
His spidey sense leads him to the atomic research plant where the Octopus gang is stealing stuff, and the Owl gang attacks them. I will say, as much as I kind of like all the set pieces, the costume design on these two different sets of goons is not particularly distinct or interesting.
It is very silly, yeah. Just Owl has just like a gang of like purple football team players, and then Octopus has a gang of green players.
Yeah, they definitely had to, because they're both purple and green. They both had to like collaborate. Like, okay, who's wearing what colors today, so we can tell each other apart.
The home jerseys and the away jerseys.
Yeah. It's like when the Bulls play the Spurs, and you're like, well, you can't both wear black and white because it'll be confusing.
Yeah, I do love though. This definitely reminds me of like the '60s Batman, where there's like just like 7 fight scenes that are all no consequence. They're all it's like, well, there's another Rumble for 3 pages. Yeah, let's do it. I love it. It's fun.
They all got away. Oh well, on with the story.
The Owl swoops in and steals some device that he's been looking for here, and he gets away. Then Peter heads over to ESU, Empire State University, talks to one of the professors there who... This professor kind of seems to know too much. I don't know how he knows so much. But
she is his assistant, but again, he's giving a little too much information away.
So first thing he says, this professor says to Peter when he comes in is, "Did you come to see me about your deplorable lack of exam preparation?" And he says, "Nope, I am more concerned about Deborah Whitman than my finals." And the professor's like, "Oh, yeah. I've been worried about her too. You know, she's got some emotional problems. I knew about it right after her release from the hospital." And Peter's like, "The hospital?" And he's like, "I can't say anymore. You should go talk to her boyfriend, Biff Rifkin." What a name. Biff Rifkin.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a Space Mutiny name that I think Crow threw out.
Biff Rifkin. Doc Ock, meanwhile, is meeting with Kingpin to try to align with him. I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, didn't Doc Ock say he didn't need anybody's help in the last issue?
Well, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Shows up and steals shit.
Yeah, Kingpin's like, no, I don't want to join you. And he's like, don't worry, it was a trick. And he like busts open the safe that's hidden behind Kingpin, steals some device, and busts out the window. Kingpin, however, is too smart. He planned for this. It was a fake. He's holding the real one, but then the lights go out. Someone steals it and disappears. And Kingpin's like, what the hell? So somebody did take his device. We don't know who it is. Peter then goes to talk to Biff Rifkin, who works at the gym, of course. Perfect place for a guy named Biff to work.
He is named Biff Rifkin.
He learns that Deb is actually married still to some guy out in the Midwest, wherever they used to live. But they're separated now, but this guy was a wife beater. And Biff, who went to college with her out there, rescued her from this guy, took her to the hospital. She refused to kind of admit the truth about him. And Biff is saying, she's always falling for guys who don't care about her, just like you, Peter. They don't see people for who they really are. Yeah, he sounds like a guy who's stuck in the friend zone. Peter runs out to see her, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna try some shock therapy, and he's gonna go see Deb. Owl and Octopus meet at some warehouse. Owl still wants to join up. He's not giving up on this. He's got the device. Octopus has the activator. He's like, let's do this together. Not having it, so they kind of tussle a little bit. Owl steals the activator, and kind of like in the midst of them trying to steal it back and forth, it drops and breaks because it's a fake. He calls Dr. Octopus a buffoon, and Octopus is like, oh, dude, I'm so mad. Don't you call me that. And he's like, what else? What are you going to do? Like, nothing right now. I'm going to go figure out what I'm doing.
I do like that this is the Owl-Octopus war, but it's like Octopus kicks Owl's ass every time.
Yes. And I will say, yes, Owl is kind of out of these issues fairly soon, and it just becomes a Doc Ock story. So Peter decides that he is going to go to Deb as Spider-Man, admit he's Peter, let her take off the mask, and he reveals his face to her. And he's like, you're right. You are not crazy. I am Spider-Man. But instead what happens is Deb sees his face and goes, oh my God, that's so silly. And she has been cured. That psychiatrist was fucking brilliant, y'all. We thought he was stupid, but he actually was a genius.
He knew his client. Client.
Wow.
Yep. Wow.
Therapist of the year.
We shouldn't be validating stuff like this. People are going to really think this is going to be the way to do it.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going back to the Midwest and getting a divorce. Thank you, Peter. And you're like, oh, okay, I good.
Yes. Yeah, that's the end. The epilogue is like she's at the bus stop and heading back west, and they share a kiss, and she's gone. I didn't realize they were like that close with each other, but okay.
They've gone on a couple of dates. It's weird that she's positioned as a love interest because she's really not. Like, they're not very serious.
So afterwards, he's leaving, and he runs into the Black Cat, and she has the activator device. She's the one who stole it from Kingpin. What?
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so on to number...
So you want to know what happened to Deb afterwards?
Sure.
So during Civil War, when Peter Parker revealed his identity was Spider-Man, she wrote a book called Two-Faced, How Spider-Man Ruined My Life, which must be really fucked up to 20 years later find out, like, I was totally fucking right, and they all told me I was crazy. That's not good. So that's where she ends up, and it turns out it was the Daily Bugle. Daily Bugle paid her off to dig up dirt on Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Well, Deb, not to victim blame or gaslight, but he told you he was Spider-Man. He literally just told you. He could have done some cool Spider-Man stunts, I guess, to prove it to you.
I mean, that little girl, when the sick little girl was like, "Are you really Spider-Man?" and he took off his mask and jumped on the ceiling. A little girl knew this. Deb, I don't know. Deb. We need to get Deb out of this book. Is what really what happened.
Yes,
she's gone.
That is the important thing. They're like, look, he started dating this girl. Get her out of here because we got Felicia Hardy coming into town.
Yep. She's the new girlfriend.
Voiced by a female shepherd from Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
So you better fall in love with her.
I don't know.
Jennifer Hale. Now the
Jennifer
voice
Hale
of
voiced
Bayonetta also. No.
Yeah, she voiced Felicia Hardy in the cartoon show.
I don't remember that voice.
She has a very sexy voice.
My Fem Shep was also very good and capable at her job. So.
They're talking.
But you can't have Peter being a cheater, so she's got to go so he can start dating somebody on the next page.
So they're talking on the roof. Thought she was dead. They share a kiss. That's 2 people Peter has kissed today. Come on, Peter, slow down. Felicia talks about how after their last encounter she was drowning. They go into a lot of detail about how she was going to get pardoned by Captain Jean DeWolf, friend of the show, but something about how I don't know why Peter attacked her and webbed her up and threw her in the river or something like that. Anyways, an old issue. She's had to slip out of her webbed up costume, got captured by Doc Ock's goons. He held her prisoner and captured her there. She escaped and stole the activator because she knew that Dr. Octopus was looking for it. And he says, "You have to keep me safe." So Peter takes her back to his hotel where he's living. He's living in a hotel? That seems very expensive. What? Okay. Oh, so he just takes her to a hotel to keep her safe. Okay.
The most expensive hotel in town, which doesn't look that nice.
It doesn't, but also you shouldn't be paying for that, Peter.
No, I don't think he is. I think that's Felicia's.
Oh, they use her? Okay. Then it's all on the up and up. I guess it's all right.
Yeah, she says American Express doesn't know that, and I'm not about to tell them. And he says, Cat, you're impossible.
Maybe I misread something, and they were talking about how it's her hotel room, and I thought it was his. Okay.
Yeah. He has a landlady that bothers him. I don't think in these issues. I think it's right afterwards.
So she gets on the bed and she wants some fun times, and Peter is like, "Okay, cool, yeah, I'm down." At first, he's not down. He's like, what the hell? So Felicia goes to the bathroom to get more comfortable, and at this point, I'm still not very trustful of Felicia. I'm wondering what's gonna go on, and then his spider sense goes crazy, and I'm like, shouldn't have trusted Felicia, lying there on the bed waiting for sexy time. But she's fine because Doc Ock attacks. He's looking for Felicia to get his device back. And there's a nice little scene during this fight where Black Cat and Spidey are kind of admitting some feelings for each other, and it was like, you're interrupting us, Doc. But Doc Ock manages to escape with both Felicia and the device. So Spider-Man goes to Kingpin for information. And Kingpin does not like Spidey putting his hands on him, but he will answer his questions because he's afraid of Doc Ock. Spidey's like, "What? You're afraid of Doc Ock?" And he says, "Yeah, the device is a neutron bomb. Octopus wants to blow up New York City." He says, "You should head to the area because that's where the Owl is, and it's probably where Doc Ock is too." So he heads over there. He's right. Doc Ock has the activator now. He's headed for the area to get the device with all his goons. He's still got Black Cat trapped in one of his tentacles in a very very King Kong-esque, kind of holding her out in one tentacle as he's climbing up and around. Spider-Man jumps in there to help Felicia, but there's smoke. There's lots of goons from both sides. He's kind of losing track of everything. And meanwhile, Octopus and Owl are kind of having their own fight up in the rafters. So it's a nice little fight here, but Octopus drops the device on purpose so that Owl can swoop in for it. Ock can get the upper hand, shatters his claws, destroys Owl's cloak, removes the leg braces, got him dead to rights. And Spidey hears a scream, fights his way towards it, and finds the Owl in a pool of blood. And I think that's pretty much it for the Owl here. Black Cat
Owl-Octopus war is over pretty quickly.
Yeah, Octopus is the winner.
Yes. This seems a little weird, where the next time we see Octopus and Black Cat has apparently freed herself and taken this device.
Yeah, but Octopus hit her in the face and left her to fight the Owl.
I see, yes. But then Octopus knocks her out and takes it right back to where they were. And then Doc Ock says, "It's time to warn the city." And Black Cat is like, "What? You're going to warn them?" He says, "No, not enough time for them to get away, of course. Just enough time for them to be aware of my superiority before they all die." Perfect, Doc Ock. Perfect. There's a lot of good Doc Ock characterization, I think, throughout this book. But Spider-Man shows up to beat him up. During this fight, Dr. Octopus nearly gets the activator into the device, but Spidey pulls him away at the last second, tears his tentacles off. He's lying passed out, writhing in pain as Spider-Man and Black Cat hug on the floor. It's over. Thank goodness. It's not over, not at all, because in the next issue,
I do really like that scene. I wish, again, I think, and I don't know if Al Milgrom laid out all of this stuff. I think the layouts of the fight is pretty dynamic, but the scene of Peter pulling off the tentacles, I feel like should have been a bigger deal than it was.
I mean, it did have a pretty impactful, nice big panel, I think, and I liked it, but I think, yeah. It was, in general, the fight scenes are all laid out really, really well.
Because I didn't know that Spider-Man could just do that.
That's true. He was, it was a rage of passion.
He was overwhelmed by love.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, you could have just done this at any point in the last 15 years.
Well, he doesn't rip. Does he rip them out of his back, or does he, like, break them?
He tears him off his back because he's at the end. They're on the ground, and
yeah, I think it's a little of both. Like they're ripped / broken, just however they can come
and then one of them gets loose because Ock can still control them, right? In the next issue.
Yeah, we're jumping right into it. The cover of this issue is at death's door with a black cat being carried in Peter's arms. Oh boy, looks like she's gonna die.
She was just fine last issue though.
She's just a little beaten up. She's okay.
That was last time. This is this time. It picks up.
I do like this dynamic that they're introducing in this issue though, which is that like Peter has never had like a sidekick or like a friend or anything like that, and he's immediately like, oh, like Black Cat's like way outclassed, like immediately, and she's also like really like just cocky and like wants to taunt the villains.
Mm-hmm.
And so Peter's just like, no, Black Cat, pay attention. Like, constantly. And so I do like that dynamic that he's just like immediately like super overprotective of like, oh no, you don't have superpowers like I do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is interesting. Like, yeah, Spider-Man doesn't typically have like a sidekick. He doesn't usually have like, this is his only like villain love interest also, or like other hero love interest ever at this point.
Yeah, and it's not like Batman where it's like all of the Batman characters, like even though Batman's like, I don't approve of you, Huntress. It's like, yeah, but you also aren't going to stop her. And like, she has the same right to do this that you do because none of you have powers. But Spider-Man's like, no, I have superpowers that let me do this.
Yeah, you're just a thief. That's it. A good thief, but just a kid.
I get her confused with Catwoman. I think the cat doesn't help. But she feels like a similar like anti-hero role for me. So sometimes I forget the dynamic.
She is very much, they created a Marvel Catwoman character.
Yeah.
It is wild she's not been in like in any movies or anything, like ever.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They pitched and I think they started developing it, a Silver Sable Black Cat movie. That's never going to happen.
Why would you do that?
It's funny because why do they make Morbius? Why do they make Craven?
Oh, Kia, there's a Madam Web movie coming out like next month, right?
With Sydney Sweeney as Spider-Woman 2.
And Dakota Johnson as Madam Web, so we're going to have a hot Madam Web from 50 Shades of Grey. Anya Corsone's in it.
I don't know who any of those people are.
You know who Madam Web is. She's the old lady that has like a blindfold. I don't
know who any of the actors are.
Come on, you know who Sydney Sweeney is.
Adam Scott's playing Uncle Ben. It's going to be amazing.
Sydney Sweeney is.
I don't want to know. Let's keep going.
Ezekiel. I'm looking at the cast now. Now, oh man, we're not doing Madam Web next time. There's a Maddie Franklin gonna be in a movie in less than a month.
Yes, Maddie Franklin.
All right, let's put some Madam Web on the list.
They made her a person of color. They made it woke. Thanks a lot.
I liked it when she was a weird person that J. Jonah Jameson adopted.
Yeah, when she was J. Jonah Jameson's like great niece or whatever that he adopted. That's
everybody's favorite Spider-Man. All right, we are off the rails.
That then got tricked into doing drugs and became like a
That's right.
Yeah, she was an alias character that was missing.
That's right. I think we maybe even did that episode. Did we?
I think we did.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're moving on.
Jessica Drew's
the Owl and the Octopus gangs are coming in where Peter and Black Cat are on the floor here. Doc Octopus is still writhing in pain, but yeah, they got to deal with this whole gang here.
Two gangs.
Two gangs, yeah. Felicia notices the tentacles still writhing and like one of them going after the activator. So Black Cat grabs it and is like, no, you can't do that. And the arms start coiling around her because Doc Ock can still control them. And then
very small to coil around.
Yes. And then the Octopus gang straight up shoots her against some pillar.
With harpoons.
There's a harpoon in her shoulder, a harpoon in her leg, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullets that have hit her. All have hit her. And she slumps down to the ground. Spider-Man yells, "No!"
I do like that she's like, "Is this the price I pay for being good?"
A nice scene. So Spidey fights in a rage, rips one of these tentacles in half, wraps them in a web, and throws them out into the river. Spider-Man grabs Felicia, takes her to the hospital, yells at the doctor, like, "Get to work immediately!" And they're like, "Put her on this bed." And he's like, "I'm not letting her go!" And they're like, "Dude, let us do our job. Just put her down." I'm sorry. Do your thing. As they're operating on her, Spidey doesn't even realize it, but he falls asleep. And he wakes up in the morning. And she's critical, but she's alive. And Peter realizes, oh my God, it's time for exams, and he's got to run. And he shows up just in time. This professor, the only thing he apparently cares about in the world is Peter Parker, because he's just thinking like, Peter's not here. What a bright student. If only he would apply himself. And then he shows up and is like, oh, there he is. Okay. Peter takes this test.
He's got a class of like literally, it's an auditorium class. And it says Dr. Sloan breathes a sigh of relief. There's 400 other people in this class. He's like, thank God Peter's here, though. Thank goodness. Uh-huh. Peter's got that like fuck up charisma that just like carries him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's got that a 5 o'clock shadow here as well because he's tired. It's that good. Again, it does remind me a little bit of the Batman stuff we were reading with
Nightfall.
Yeah, where he's just like, I like it when the characters have a shadow and they have it shaved. I feel like it's just one of my favorite little touches that it's like, that's how you know he's tired. That's all you need. So he finishes the test and immediately runs back to the hospital. And he notices Captain Jean DeWolf in the halls, friend of the show. And he's worried, like she's there to arrest Felicia. So he talks to her, and it is the opposite. One of the Owl's henchmen squealed, so she's here with amnesty papers. And so Pete goes into the room. She's heavily sedated. Can't really talk to her very much. But elsewhere, we see Doc Ock getting his limbs reattached. And the people operating on him are like, sir, this would be a lot easier if you would allow us to sedate you. And he goes, no, I want to feel the pain. And I want to know what it's going to feel like when I tear Spider-Man and Black Cat limb from limb. All right, great.
I do love that. That's a great way to close out an issue.
Yeah.
Like Doc Ock just being completely insane. Like, I'm going to murder Spider-Man for this.
Yep. So on to Spectacular number 77. I do like the side characters that have been showing up throughout this. I feel like the side plots are kind of weighed in just enough to make it interesting without distracting too much from the main plot. We are at Melvin Potter's costume shop. Is he a friend of the show? Have we talked about him before? I'm sure we have.
I don't know. I'd have to.
He's in the Daredevil TV show as the guy.
I just read a lot of Daredevil this year.
Yes, he is a Daredevil regular character, in that he is like not really bad, but he gets manipulated a lot.
Yeah, I have not read many comics with him as the Guardian, but we do see his wax figures with the Guardian and his saws. Oh, sorry, Gladiator.
He's the Gladiator.
Gladiator. Sorry, G names, whatever. And we did y'all? There's a Batman figure in the background. I didn't recognize all these, but I was like, can they do that? That's very like, it's kind of a Batman in the shadow, but it's pretty clearly a Batman.
I love this issue also. I love like there's little caricatures of all the creative team. I think that's cool.
Oh yeah.
And then Jim Shooter is Dr. Doom.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
It's good. It's good. So what we've got here, Melvin Potter is working late at the costume shop. He kind of hears some trouble outside. And it's a bunch of robbers running from the cops. One of them is kind of out of shape and can't keep up, so he shoots at the cops and kills one of them. And the other robbers are like, "Oh shit! Now they're never going to stop chasing us. This is just a robbery, and now we've killed a cop."
They just went from 2 stars to 4 stars, my friend.
Exactly. Yeah. So they break into this costume shop to hide. These cops are idiots because they run right past. They apparently didn't see or hear the broken glass that they bust in there. Come on, whatever. But Melvin walks up behind them and says, "What's going on here?" And they're like, "I thought you were a wax figure." The main robber like the head guy here, does know who Melvin Potter is, and that's why he hid there on purpose, because he wants Melvin to hide them. And Melvin's like, hey, I got a record. I don't want to get involved. He goes to grab the phone, and they shoot him in the arm. And he's like, damn. The cops hear this gunshot. The main robber says Melvin will already be implicated just by them being here, which is like, will he? Not necessarily. This is his costume shop. They're the ones who busted in.
I guess. I guess he has a record. They'll be like, of course you went and hid with this guy.
Yeah.
He must be in on it. I don't know.
But then this guy sees the wax figure of the saw blade guy, and he's like, gets an idea. Spider-Man, meanwhile, is in the hospital room. He's sleeping next to Felicia in a web hammock. He has a bad dream about fighting Doc Ock. I love the art in this. I wrote Panel of the Week again with these pink outlines, no color, and Doc Ock is looking like an actual octopus.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Very good. It actually looks kind of MODOK-y in a way as well.
It reminds me, it's before Eric Larson ever got involved with Spider-Man, but that's kind of how he drew Doc Ock, like the sort of like, oh, we don't care about realism anymore.
Yeah, it's very nice. And his tentacles are like actual octopus tentacles. It's great. But then, while he's dreaming about fighting Doc Ock, the real Doc Ock busts into the hotel room, and they start to fight. But Doc Ock is just there with a warning about tomorrow night. He wants both of them to have a nice day of fear and helpless anticipation, because he'll be back in 24 hours to kill them both. And he rips out Felicia's life support system on his way out. Wow. Spidey calls for the doctor. Then he goes outside to see Captain DeWolf. And she's like, well, then we got to move her to a more secure hospital. And he says, no, she's too unstable. I've just got to get ready for the biggest battle of my life. Which, I get that she's too unstable to move to another hospital, but that means she's probably also too unstable for a fight against a superhero
battle. Yeah.
So maybe don't have her there.
And also, I don't like comics where the heroes are like, oh, like the Fantastic Four could handle this or something, but it's like, dude, like maybe someone could help you.
Yeah, ask for help, man. It's okay. So meanwhile, back at the costume shop, the robbers have made Melvin dress up in his old gladiator gear, and he's going to help get them out. So they're like, all right, start tearing your way through the cops. Instead, he just tears down a big hotel sign to kind of block things. He is trying to be a little peaceful, and everyone starts opening fire on both sides. Spider-Man is kind of passing by overhead, and he sees the cops outside doing all their, we know you're in there stuff. And he jumps in immediately. First thing he does is punch Gladiator. He's like, I'm sure this is the guy I got to punch. And then Spidey takes down the others, and Melvin, who's lying there, he's just been punched. He was shot in the arm. His blood is starting to stain his costume, and now he's starting to go a little crazy. And he's believing himself to be a warrior of the Roman Empire. I didn't know that was a thing of his, but I guess that's Spider-Man later remembers. He's like, oh my God, I learned about Gladiator and what his lawyer Matt Murdock said about him and his delusions.
I thought, obviously, we joke about like Peter has to mention the death of his Uncle Ben in every issue, but I thought I appreciated them being like, this is what he does. He's friends with Matt Murdock. He thinks he's a gladiator, and I'm like, okay, I'm on board. I don't know if I've read a Melvin Potter thing or if I forgot his deal, because I just kind of remember from the Daredevil TV show, and I'm like, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Good job, y'all. Y'all don't know if I remember this shit, so good.
Yeah, it's nice of them to remind us. So Spider-Man has taken out everybody, and the robbers speak up that Melvin was a good guy. They just made him do the thing. So the cops are like, hey, all right, he's great. We're going to let him go. But then his spider sense goes off, and he gets the cops down just in time before a blade sears by, because he has gone full on mad. He's attacking everybody. Spider-Man does get through to him for a second, and we're like, did he get through to him? And he fakes out. He's like, nothing will stop me. Nothing will stop me. And it kind of looks like he's going to kill some people. And he goes, nothing will stop me from never being the gladiator again. And he doesn't attack anyone. And Spider-Man asks him to fix his costume. Happy ending. On to the next issue here. Last two. Number 78. Peter... we've got tons of cops at the hospital, all guarding the place, and Peter kind of sneaks into Felicia's room past all of them, And as soon as he starts talking to Felicia, the guard that was asleep next to her and all the other guards outside hear it, and they like bust in. And Captain DeWolf is furious that they all failed at detecting Spider-Man getting in there. Spider-Man and Jean DeWolf. Is it Jean or John? Jean? I don't know.
I thought it was Jean.
Jean.
I think it's Jean.
She's
they
not
don't
in the
want...
cartoon, despite...
No, she should be.
Yeah, they could have a character in a beret. Missed opportunity.
But they don't want to tell Felicia that Doc Ock will be back because they don't want the stress in her condition. But Felicia wakes up, tells Peter about a dream she had talking to her dad about a second chance in life, and she's like, I'm going to go straight. And Spider-Man's like, that's great. Hey, guess who else is here? It's your mom. And Spider-Man's like, yeah, I'm going to leave for a bit, let y'all talk. He goes to sell some of his pictures to Jonah, who's kind of playing hardball with Spider-Man a little bit, but he seems to get a decent amount of money. He goes to deposit the money into his...
Yeah, Pete immediately goes from I'm fucking broke to I deserve to take a limo to school.
He gets paid, from what I can understand, $1,600. He deposits.
He takes a cab.
A cab. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's still.
But he thinks it's ritzy. Give him a cheese pizza. He's Kevin McAllister from Home Alone 2. It's a good time.
Yep, good time. But he deposits half the money into his own account. He's going to give the other half to Aunt May. A very strange scene with Pete and his classmates and his professor here. Like, everyone's just acting weird, where everyone's like, boy, there's that Pete, that guy who just doesn't care about his studies. And Pete's like, you know what? I don't care about my studies. I'm going to be a great physicist someday, and I don't care about grades. There's a real world outside this campus, and I want to start living in it.
I love that the professor is like, oh, you finally care about grades, do you, son? And he's like, no.
What is this? What is this scene,
the pathway to being a great physicist is through academia, right? It's not like I don't need to go to college, play college ball. I'll just go straight to the pros. I don't need this. That's not like that, right?
I'm going to be a street physicist.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna give him an honorary PhD once they find out how great he is.
He's not gonna have to have anything like. Doesn't they have to like do things in a lab that can be like repeated by others in order to get like bullshit done? Like, you can't just do it on TikTok and then be like a world famous physicist that's accredited. Like, I don't think it works that way.
I would say that's better. Be on TikTok.
He's in the wrong field, if he doesn't want to deal with academic bullshit.
Yeah, so he's walking away, and he's thinking he might ditch it all for the Black Cat. He might even tell her his secret identity. All right.
I'll drop out of school for her, but I will not tell her my secret identity.
Also, but like, who said, like, does she need you to drop out of school for her? I don't know. But anyway,
this brings up a question that I guess I'll save to the end, but it does make me wonder about Peter's character. But I'll get to it kind of in our final thoughts.
Sure. So Doc Ock is under the sewers. He's plotting. He runs into a bunch of people who live under the sewers. Who are these people? They're not consequential to anything. They're like, oh, will you be our king? And he goes, no, y'all are gross. Get away from me.
That's it.
That's it. That's all we see.
Like a little army recruits. Yeah.
No. Maybe they are, and we didn't see it. And these are the people under the octopus gang masks, but whatever. All of a sudden at the school, as he's on campus, kind of walking around. I don't know why he's on campus. You're not going to go to any classes. You're just walking around. But he runs into two old couples, Liz Allen and Harry Osborn, and Flash Thompson and Sha Shan. Who is she? I don't think I know her. She's Flash Thompson's girlfriend.
Yeah, Flash's Vietnamese girlfriend. He went, served in Vietnam, and then later met a woman that he met there, and they started dating. I think her name was retconned to be Shashan Win, because she does come back during, like, I think Brand New Day. But yeah, they date for about 5 years in the comics.
Okay. But anyways, they are back for some alumni fundraiser. They couldn't reach Peter, but they wanted him to join for lunch. So he's like, okay, yeah, sure. Meanwhile, a police van is taking Boomerang to prison in full costume. Why did they put him in his costume?
They do point out that it's like, yeah, the warden wants to take pictures of you.
Oh, that's, yes, yeah.
So that's the, like, hand waving of, like, it doesn't make any sense, but...
Yeah, but why not? And they put him in a cell across from the Punisher, who says, "You'll do exactly what I tell you if you want to survive here." Peter and his friends go to an exotic Thai restaurant, as the captions tell us. Pete immediately has to run afterwards and get ready for the fight. And his friends can tell something's bothering him. Like when he says bye, it has I don't remember exactly what he says, but it's something like, it has a very air of finality to it. Then he goes to Aunt May to give her the money. And I guess she has seen some guy, Mr. Lubinsky, and he goes, "Take care of Aunt May for me." And
that's
like,
her boyfriend.
Yep. Spidey goes back to the hospital. With all the cops there, Felicia is kind of realizing something's going on. She's like, "Doc Ock is coming back, isn't he?" He's like, "Yeah." And Peter wants to show her his secret identity, but Felicia says, "Not yet." And Doc Ock shows up. Time for the fight to be continued. And on to the last issue here, number 79. It is basically a giant fight scene throughout the whole thing with a lot of different set pieces throughout. This is the one that really was just like, it's like a very constantly shifting fight scene that keeps it super interesting. But the fight starts and Spidey is instantly out of web fluid. Oh no, too bad.
How did he forget about this?
How did he forget about this?
This is only fight of the day.
Yep.
He didn't get distracted on the way.
Yeah, it's like, I had that big Thai lunch. I forgot to refill my web cartridges.
Yeah. I mean,
he's got a lot on his mind. I frequently forget my coffee when I'm going to work. Like it's made, but like I have like both kids' backpacks. Sometimes they have to bring like other paraphernalia, their lunches, my lunch, my workout bag. Something's gonna get left behind, and like and so maybe like he's got like it's like. Well, I got all my affairs in order. I basically just, like, I talked to all my friends, basically like I was going to my death. I said all my goodbyes. Fuck, web cartridges. That was the one thing. I'm with him, although the fact that, like, it's resolved, like, 2 panels later kind of makes it irrelevant to me, but...
Yeah, my coffee maker does not have an auto-off feature, which really bugs me because I do forget it's there all the time. And sometimes I've left an empty pot of coffee sitting hot there. And I feel like, is this thing going to break? It's been fine so far.
Did it burn down your apartment?
Yeah.
I'm worried about it.
I have to say, like, aloud, like, burners turned off, so I can remember that I said it. Like, I have to say that to myself. So
that's a good tip.
Yeah. They were giving therapy tips and how to not burn down your apartment tips.
Yeah, we're good. We're like a Smokey the Bear if he was a therapist hybrid kind of deal. So the cops moved Black Cat out of her room, which if they were going to do that instantly, again, why didn't you just do it before? Whatever.
Well, yeah, why didn't they just a dummy of Felicia that when Doc Ock breaks in, he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Like, dress up a cop. Dress up Jean DeWolf as Felicia and have her be like, "You're under arrest." Hold up the gun. Oh, that would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been cool. Did they think, like, maybe this Doc Ock won't actually show up? I mean, he showed up yesterday and unplugged her life support. Because they're like waiting till the last minute, like we can't move her. Like, well, actually, we probably should move her. This is looking kind of fucking bad. Like, and there's so many fucking cops there. Like, is Black Cat like that big of a stakes that requires that much like use of resources? Like, is she giving info to anybody? Like, why does Jean DeWolf like have the whole crew there?
I mean,
I know she's
a credible death threat.
A credible death threat. For the hospital is how I get.
And a super villain.
Yeah. Okay. And Black Cat is also the whole time like, "Where are you taking me? Spider-Man needs me." And you're in no condition to help her. Don't do anything. Immediately after they get out of that room, Spider-Man and Doc Ock crash right into it. They fight there a little bit. How did they resolve the thing with the web fluid? Does he? Because I didn't see him.
No, he literally says like 2 panels later, like, "Got some more. I'm good."
Okay. But they fight through the hospital for a little bit. There's a great scene where they fight in front of an X-ray machine, and so we see their skeletons as they're fighting. Which, again, it's nothing about the story. It's just like a fun little pop within this fight scene.
I will say this X-ray confirms Doc Ock big boned. His hips are much wider.
Big-boned. Yeah.
Hips are much wider than Peter's. He just has a big frame. Sorry. Just genetics.
They fight down an elevator shaft, and like this thing is about to fall, and Spidey saves it with his webs. Then they fight out to the streets as they're loading Black Cat into the ambulance. An Ock starts chasing the ambulance onto the highway. Constantly again changing our like set piece here. Now they're on the highway where we see all these cars, and Doc Ock is doing his. I really really like this issue. I don't normally. I was like, oh, this issue is gonna be all fight scene, and I'm just gonna have to write in my notes like fight scene, and it's very different from most fight scenes that I've read.
I really like that like Jean DeWolf gets involved and like throws her car into Doc Ock. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, she knows she can't outrun him, so she's got to outwit him, and like drives right at him, knocks him down to the train tracks, and she gets thrown from the car. Spidey catches her, continues after Doc Ock. A train is approaching, and Doc Ock straight up fucking smashes it with his limbs and lifts it and throws it. And Spider-Man's like, I did not know his limbs were that powerful. I hope he doesn't catch me. They go out to some construction site that's kind of against the river there, and Spidey sets up his camera in the corner, but almost instantly gets knocked into the water during the fight. He wraps some steel girders around the tentacles, brings the whole place down. They fall into the water together, and I will say the end of this fight scene was a little anticlimactic, because he's just like, all right, I've won. I knocked you into the water. That's the rules of the game. I beat you.
I kind of love it, though, because it's like Doc Ock is such and it's like, again, we know now in 2024, just like how toxic a certain type of know-it-all nerd can be. Mm-hmm. That like Doc Ock has this huge ego and he thinks he's so great, but it's like incredibly fragile. So it's just like Spider-Man, when he's like, I'm going to kill you, Spider-Man. Spider-Man beating him even after he's like, but I got an upgrade. He's like, no, I'm always going to beat you. You suck.
Yeah, he's like, listen, man, you're at the height of your power, and I still beat you because I'm always going to beat you because I'm better than you. And I'm leaving now. You're webbed up. I'm leaving you for the cops. Don't come after me ever again.
Yeah, this was basically, I know you guys don't watch football, but this was the Cowboys last night as they were embarrassed. They're like, we have the greatest offense in the NFL. We'll easily win. And then they lost badly. And the Packers were just like, we're always going to beat you. You'll always lose.
And that's it.
Topical.
He goes off. Spider-Man has won. And that's the end. We got a little preview of the next story where Punisher says, Boomerang, you're going to help me escape from prison. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Question. Is this the Chameleon pretending to be the Punisher?
I believe it's the Punisher.
Okay. That's where I got confused between that and the Superior Foe stuff, because that was the Chameleon pretending to be the Punisher several times.
Yeah, because Frank Miller, Daredevil, Punisher gets put in jail like a year or two earlier. I think it was about a year earlier. And so, yeah, I think he's been kind of off the board since 1982, I think. So it's been about a year and a half. So this is him coming back.
Cool. Well, let's start to get into our final thoughts. Although, Chris, you had something you wanted to say about Peter's characterization here?
Yes. So I was going to ask. I think it's very hard to believe that Peter and Mary Jane never slept together. But do you think that Black Cat was either the first or the second woman he ever slept with, and that's why he's so insane when he thinks Black Cat is going to be killed?
Maybe this is possible.
Because he is out of his mind the second her life is in any danger.
It is like he's very quickly infatuated. Infatuated.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder if him and Gwen ever, like, if they were just like, they just kissed and it was the 60s or whatever, and then she died. Because I'm just like, man, really?
Yeah. He's
That's a hard question. I feel like, and also I have no idea with like Marvel time how long I find it hard to believe that if anybody dated anybody for several years, even in the 60s, that they weren't like sleeping together. I find that hard to believe. I feel like the writers probably didn't intend it though. So if we go by the writer's perspective of it, like they probably didn't.
Yeah, Stan definitely wasn't thinking like, yeah, they're definitely having sex.
Yeah.
But I mean, her dad dies, so it's not like there's anybody.
Peter's got a thing for girls with dead dads. But between this and Felicia Hardy, that was dark. But
Mary Jane doesn't know her dad either.
Wow. Okay.
Stays with her aunt.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, this got darker. Yeah, he is like that's where I find this kind of like unbelievable. Like he went from like zero to 60 real fast with Black Cat. Like
It's
willing to
not
give up
even-
anything and like beating the shit out of people and going to like that crazy like love rage that they have like in fiction. I'm like, this seemed very quick.
And I will say the plot doesn't necessarily reflect any madness. It's just those little bits. It's particularly those bits of characterization with him at the school where he's like, I'm going to throw it all away for Felicia Hardy.
Yeah.
That's like okay, everything else I can kind of buy. Like she's a friend and somebody like tried to kill her and you're close. Yeah, of course. Cool. But like,
She's a smoke show and she's interested.
yeah. I get it. But like, I don't know. Play it cool. Act like you've been there, Pete.
Yeah, and it's Chris like, I don't think he's been there.
That's what makes me question.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know. I know Mary Jane's a party girl.
Vince, how about some of your
liked
thoughts on
it.
the
I liked it. I think it was like fun, kind of classic Spidey comics. I'll read pretty much any Spider-Man comic. I liked all the fights. I think there were probably too many between these like 7 issues. Like it felt very much like the 60s Batman. We're like kind of exhausted by it at this point. Doc Ock, every time I read him, he seems like still's got that hubris, but he reads a little different every time from what I know him as. Because he's a lot more sophisticated, the Doc Ock that I know. So this was a fun like depiction of him. I think Peter, all of his like real life stuff though, like didn't really work for me. Like all the school stuff, like I didn't like those scenes. I usually like his supporting cast scenes. I didn't really like this Professor Sloan stuff, and I thought he was kind of being shitty about schoolwork. So
yeah, they're just hitting the same note like over and over. Like you're not showing up to class, Peter. Or you're not studying for this test or whatever. And it's just like, no, I'm not.
Repeat
Peter
every issue. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter being irresponsible about education is not something I can get behind. But
which
I really liked it too. Overall, it was a fun. I don't want to say breezy, but it flowed really well. It was fun to read. It didn't have that kind of density that sometimes like 80s older comics can have a little bit. Where I don't know, it just was really nice. And for all the things that bothered me throughout, and there were a lot of things that bothered me, I still overall liked it. It was just fun.
Yeah, I agree, and also like just like a weird thing is like because I've been like reading like a lot of different like eras of Spider-Man lately because I've been reading that. I started reading the Nick Spencer run because that's where I stopped because I knew Boomerang was in it. I liked Boomerang from Superior Foes, and then I've been playing that Spider-Man 2 video game on PS4, and all of them feel familiar. Like this 80s thing, like I don't know Spider-Man's exact status quo with anybody, but it still felt like very familiar and approachable despite it being like 40 years. Previous of continuity is still like, oh, I got this. Yeah, M.A., I got it. Like, all the familiar tropes are there. I don't know Sloan versus DeWolf. He's got Watanabe instead. He's got a different cop friend. But other than that, like, it's very familiar and simple and easy to dip into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely, I think, a very strong period, and that's why it gets adapted so much, and that's why it gets, it's why Brand New Day was basically like, no, bring it back to the 80s.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, it's I like this a lot. I think this I've talked to Roger Stern is probably my favorite run on Spider-Man, and this was happening right around the same time. The school plot, believe it or not, does end with him passing and then quitting anyway, which I think is a good a good like screw you to that crusty old academic advisor or whatever. But no, I like this a lot. I think this is sort of the quintessential Spider-Man where it's not like silly or anything. This isn't Stan Lee Spider-Man. And I will say I agree with you, Vince. In Spectacular Spider-Man, the subplots are not getting as much time as they usually would, because I always felt like that's a book that had more time for like, oh, what's Betty Brant up to or whatever, or Ned Leeds, a character we hadn't seen in a little while. But this is like, they've got like a clear plan where they're like, no, we're going to have this big Doc Ock battle. We want this to happen. And so a lot of it's just sort of like table setting to get to that point. Like the stuff with Gladiator, like that's such a fill-in, has nothing to do with, yes, Doc Ock shows up for like 5 pages, but then the rest of it is like, yeah, we're going to deal with this other problem for 20 pages.
Mm-hmm. Were there just the 2 Spider books at this time, Amazing and Spectacular?
There was also Marvel Team Up, which was,
yeah.
I think, about to end, and then Web of Spider-Man replaces it. So there were 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was like the loosest one where, there might be like a throwaway of like, oh yeah, I just had that big adventure with the Shield helicarrier, and they'd be like, see recent issues of Marvel,
Yeah,
Marvel Team Up.
Because the 90s had like 4 books, and then Unlimited for like when they had 5 weeks. Because I think they had Adjectiveless, Web of, Spectacular, and Amazing.
And they were interconnected in a way that was very irritating, where they'd be like, all right, in a week, see you for the next part of this story. We're like, God damn. Like, because I do like that none of this is happening. Amazing Spider-Man, I think they're right before the Hobgoblin stuff starts, because Hobgoblin shows up in like a little thing as he's thinking about like, I've made new enemies like this Hobgoblin character.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, anything else to say about this before we jump to?
I'm good. I liked it though. I'm interested. I actually want to check out like what happens with this Punisher Boomerang shit. I mean, I'm a Boomerang fan. I don't know why.
Yeah, we're boomers for Boomerang.
You can, you can throw a fountain pen really hard, just like Bullseye in the Daredevil movie.
They should do a Boomerang movie.
I do like that joke in the new Suicide Squad movie where like multiple characters all have throwing powers. Because it's like Idris Elba has it. I think Peacemaker might have that power too.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they have the joke where Amanda Waller is just like, he can make anything a weapon and blah 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 blah. And then Deadshot is like, "Are you having a laugh? Like he does exactly what I do."
All right, but let's jump over to Earth X. We are on issue number 7. A lot has happened in the first 6 issues. Not really. Nothing has happened in the first 6 issues.
Everything and nothing.
But the most important thing is that X-51, who was on the moon with the Watcher, watching the Earth, has deleted his personality circuits at the Watcher's request. And the text at the beginning of every issue just has their conversation with each other. And X-51 doesn't even care to gather information anymore. And Uatu's like, no. You need to tell me what you see. I'm blind. And so X-51 is just like, he admits his function is utility. And Uatu's like, okay, good. And X-51 says, there is no good. There's no evil. None of this matters anymore. And I like that X-51 is now like giving this shit right back to Uatu. It's something satisfying about this.
Yeah.
But we start with some history of the Hulk this time. X-51 sees a man striking a child. This does not concern him. It's Bruce Banner's childhood. And we get a little bit of Hulk history here about how Hulk absorbs radiation. That's why he keeps changing. But his enemies all exude radiation, which is why Betty Ross died of radiation poisoning. We then see John Jameson, the werewolf astronaut.
Hulk.
Wait, what?
But she became a sexy Hulk. I'm confused.
When did she become a sexy Hulk?
Becomes the Red Hulk.
Oh.
That's after this, though, right?
Yes.
Yes. And well, after that, that's...
publication-wise.
Public.
They don't,
Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness haven't gotten their hands on Jennifer Connelly's character yet.
All right, so... So John Jameson, that's J. Jonah Jameson's son. He's a werewolf astronaut, of course. He's on the moon. That's where he lives. And he thinks he saw a robot enter the Watcher's home. So he's going to go check it out. Plus, it's sunrise, and he's about to turn into a werewolf. And his girlfriend, I guess, is there on the moon, too. And he's like, yeah, I can't be here with you.
This is such a Venture Brothers scene. Everything about it. I could just hear, the not Brock Sampson, but like one of the other like tough guy, Rex Banner type characters on Venture Brothers. Like, I gotta go check it out. It's like, no, honey, no. It's like, no, I got to. It's like, you're about to turn into a wolf.
So we sent a werewolf to a fucking full moon?
Yeah.
That seems very dumb.
Classic blunder.
Like, he can't hurt anyone up there.
What? Yeah, as you say, we sent him back. That's the part that's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't know he was a werewolf back when he was first an astronaut.
Isn't the moon always half in light?
I don't know how that works. Because why is it sunrise and he's coming up? I guess it's because the sun is hitting the moon, which is then shining moonlight onto him.
Right.
Which then that's what does it, maybe?
Seems
I feel like werewolf logic
doesn't
doesn't
work.
make sense.
Does a UV lamp activate werewolf powers?
Maybe there should.
Like, he
maybe
shouldn't
it
be in my
should.
turtle's terrarium? Like, that would...
It should just be on a 28-day cycle. Because what if it's cloudy? It should still work.
Yeah.
That's not important for her.
He doesn't show up in this again. So on to the Thing. The Thing is at home. He's got his nightcap on, his night robe, and I skipped a scene with Reed Richards talking to himself as he walks the streets of NYC. He's like talking to Sue in his head. Medusa contacts him on like a Princess Leia device, hologram thing. Reed apologizes for not shutting off the Doombots. And he does also think Luna might be hiding something, but they don't talk about it much. But then he goes to visit the Thing, and yeah, they were in bed, I guess. His kids are there. Like, you gonna hit him, Dad? No, of course not. I'm civilized. And like calls him Stretcho. Like, Stretcho, that's a stupid name. That's one more peep out of you, and you know what time it'll be. Yeah, clobbering time. Boring stuff. Dad always says it's clobbering time. So Reed is there because he needs his old files. He's looking for his schematics on Professor Xavier's brain. And his plan is he's going to stretch his own brain to match so that he can use Cerebro. I kind of love that, actually. Yeah. It's great.
I do like when he's like, yeah, I've been hanging out with the Inhumans. And Thing is like, Inhumans, huh? Is Medusa still a babe?
Yeah, and then what's his wife's name? I forgot it.
Alicia.
Thank you. Alicia is calling from the other room and goes, Ben? And he's like, oh boy, everyone in the world got superpowers. She must have got super hearing. So then we go.
I wish this book was just about the Thing and none of this other crap.
Really, the Thing really is the best character in this book, and honestly, I kind of like that werewolf. He can be just the Thing and the werewolf.
Yeah, the werewolf can stay.
A Thing and dads. I mean, they did that for Vision, right? They made a Vision comic where he was like a dad.
Yeah.
They could do that with the Thing. I'd be all over it.
Well, he's finally married in the comics, so he could have kids now.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 little clay sons. It's fun.
Hell yeah.
I don't know about this Reed switch, like moving his brain. Like, is there a transitional period where he moves his brain that he just like creates massive brain damage, that then he can't complete the deal? Like that, I'm very worried about for him.
Yeah, I don't know how that's working.
He's smart,
and he could always do this. What the fuck? Like it's like I can just reassemble my atoms and have any superpower ever. Like I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't think. Whatever. Don't think about it too much.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. So we turn to Bruce and Hulk. They were about to enter the land of the dead to go find Captain Marvel. Thor, Clea, and Bruce are staying out, but just the big dumb Hulk is heading in. What Bruce has not told them, and I don't think we knew this at this point, is that he is blind. He can see only through the Hulk's eyes. So when the Hulk goes into the land of the dead, and I didn't realize this was how it would work, where he is like attached to a big rope that's on a giant like pulley thing, and I guess they're gonna reel him back out if they need to. It doesn't seem like they are able to do that. Anyways, what Bruce? So all the Avengers are there in the land of the dead. There's Jen Walters, Daredevil, Phoenix, and all these heroes there think they're alive. Gambit. I didn't notice Gambit. Where's Gambit?
It looks like Gambit. When Professor X is talking to Thunderbird, it looks like Gambit-shaped character wearing a jacket.
Professor X talking to Thunderbird.
So it's on the,
he says,
after the 2-page spread.
Scott, Jean, Logan, they're dead. Thunderbird, are you certain? It's like, no, you guys are dead.
Yeah, they all think that they're the ones who are dead and everyone else is alive. Like the Fantastic Four, Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are attacking Doctor Doom, saying, what have you done to my husband? That kind of stuff.
But their colors are inverted and the 4 is flipped. So
it's weird, yeah.
Like, so Sue, instead of having a blue costume, is a orange costume, and her 4 is reversed. I'm not sure if that's because they're a different alternate universe, or they're like a negative, like film negative,
like a
flipped.
mirror or whatever, yeah.
I don't know. But Jen Walters is green, so I don't know.
That's true.
But then it looks like Scarlet Witch is also green, which she would not be.
Yeah, there's a lot of
yellow
weird,
there, yellow and orange, yeah.
That orange Fantastic Four costume is like It's so wrong, and it's like a fucked up cover song that someone does, and you're like, yeah, I kind of like how fucked up it is. You know?
Yeah, I do too. It's their fall fashions. They should definitely.
Yeah.
Pumpkin themed, Fantastic Four.
So Hulk is, searching for Mar-Vell, and he busts into the Sanctum Supreme, or whatever this dead version of it is. There's Doctor Strange's symbol at the top, and Clea on the outside is sensing a terrible coldness, and like you can just see Clea and Bruce talking to each other out there in the captions, and she's like begging Bruce to take the Hulk out of there. And
the ghost of Doctor Strange holds a finger up to his mouth, and he's like, I don't see anything.
Yeah. And this ghost. Go ahead, Vince.
Doctor Strange, what we've criticized before is that every single old man hero has to have a giant crazy man beard. Reed has one, Tony has one, now Doctor Strange has one. Mm-hmm. There's another way. There's other ways to age and draw aged people.
Well, I'll tell you how. He's also got some liver spots, and he's got really disgustingly long fingernails that are curling.
He should have just been like fully bald, I think, because he never had long hair.
He's a ghost. You could have drawn him however.
It's true.
Well, you'd like to know that it's Doctor Strange. So
do ghosts have fingernails?
Well, they don't have nail clippers.
He was old when he died, I guess. He was old when.
I thought they keep. Don't your hair and your nails keep growing even when you're dead? Did I hear that's true?
In your body, yes. But anyway,
not in your soul. Okay.
So this is his astral form, and he's just like, by the way, Clea killed me.
He doesn't actually say that. I had to reread this scene a few times, and actually, this is the scene that, as I was reading it, I was like, I remember this scene the first time I read this book, because I had to read it multiple times, because I didn't even realize this was Doctor Strange for a little while. And so he is speaking pretty cryptically. He says, don't reveal who it is you're talking to. What have you brought me? Oh, yeah, okay. But Mar-Vell, don't worry about him. He's coming to you. And so Bruce on the outside is like, I've just been told that Mar-Vell is coming back. And Clea's like, any sign of Steven, Bruce? No. And Steven is like, hey, you must be wondering how I'm aware of my own death. I've only died in spirit. My body, I still have a link to your world. Me and a few other people know we're dead. The Phoenix, she knows we're dead. But we can't really convince anyone else. They're not listening. But listen up, Bruce. You got to listen to me. You're all in danger. Loki has allied himself with the person who killed me. Now I'm going to put this note back in your thing. Go defend your master. He doesn't actually say that Clea is the one who killed him, right?
Right. He never actually says it, but yes, we Doctor
find
Strange
out
is like, don't tell Clea that I'm here, and then Clea's like, you saw Steven, didn't you?
Yeah. And Clea tells Bruce, like, hey, if these candles burn out, Hulk is going to be trapped over there. Your sight is going to be lost as well if he's trapped in the dead. And so Thor, Lady Thor here, is like, I'm going to go after your giant. Bring him back. Let's do it. And she rushes in, and he's like, wait. Don't leave me here with her. Oh, shit. So she kind of reveals she is the one who killed Doctor Strange. I guess ties up Bruce in some sort of tentacle thing. And is this Nightmare that she's with, or is that Loki?
I think it's Loki. We don't know, really.
We don't know. It's definitely some figure that she's there with. So, hey, that's a thing that happened.
I do like the line where he's like, you would not understand, little boy. What I did for love. And Bruce is like, how could you? Steven loved you.
Oh, yeah. And she says, not enough. Not well enough. So on to
pretty good.
Our next scene. We are on the outskirts of New York, where the Skull's whole caravan is marching in. We've got a big sign. President Osborn welcomes you to New York. The Iron Maiden lady and the spider guy in the hood, whoever he is, they're talking like, hey, do you know what he's planning for tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, the Skull wants to kill President Osborn. Take over. And Iron Maiden's like, hey, who were you before the Skull? And the spider guy is like, nothing. Okay. Has me wondering, who was this guy? Are we going to find out who this spider guy is? I don't know. Then we go back to the Thing, back to Ben Grimm's house. This time it is Captain America and Daredevil visiting him, and he's like, "Oh,
The
gee."
X-Men.
What does he say? Sheesh, I guess I'm the palooka everybody knows they can stay with. And this is an excellent joke. The X-Men are flying Nick Fury's car there, and that Chewbacca-looking guy is in front. And Thing, he says, "Who's driving the car? Nick Fury?" Love that joke. But Captain America says, "Ben, it's war. The skull is coming. We got to prepare." And so, feels like stuff is happening. It's nice to have characters together, you know?
Yeah.
Makes it all feel like things are actually happening.
Daredevil sees Thing as like, "Can you punch me as hard as you can?"
Yes, that was good too. But that's it. I didn't read most of this after text this time because it was all Hulk characters and what happened to them, and I don't care about any of them. Oh wait, was it Nighthawk? What happened to Nighthawk? A friend of the show from the Squadron Supreme. Reading it
Is that
real
President
quick.
Batman?
That was President
Yes.
Batman. Yeah.
He lives in seclusion with the gargoyle.
Okay. Whatever. Doesn't seem interesting.
That's how it is every time. I'm like, oh,
That's how it
now
is
I
every
don't
time.
care.
Yep. But yeah, better issue than the others. Like I said, it's just like stuff is happening, which is good. I think more of the scenes resonated and were interesting and fun to read.
One of the I guess foreshadowed. This one wasn't as heavily foreshadowed as the Inhumans things, but yeah, figuring out what happened with Doctor Strange and that Clea is actually a baddie is a good twist.
Yep.
Things are happening. Good. This was by far the best issue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Great. I feel like there's nothing else we can really say about it though, because it is still moving, fairly slowly.
The art was also really good. This was a well drawn issue. Like when things are happening, I can appreciate the art more.
Right.
When I'm just like, God, I'm bored.
Everyone is standing around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Stop telling me about Namor. I know about it.
Yes. Well, I don't know who's on the cover of the next issue here. Is this?
It looks like a chubby guy being dressed as Spider-Man, so probably that Peter Parker. And then it looks like President Osborn. He's got kind of crazy goblin features. So
I love that weird art. Yeah,
it's
nice.
He's a very disturbing.
And then that veiny Spider-Man. That's on the cover.
Venom. May.
Yeah, that's May, right? Yeah.
And I want to know more about that spider guy, but I guess we'll see. But cool. So next time we will be reading, of course, Earth X number 8, and our main read next time we're going back to the death of Captain America. We've been building to this for a while. How long have we been reading these Captain America stories?
I feel like at least 2 years at this point.
I think it's more than that. But we are on to the issues where he actually dies. Issues 25 through 30. The Death of Captain America, Part 1. We're still going to eventually read past this, what happens post-death, but this is the main death volume. So join us for that. Captain America and Earth X.
So that's Captain America issues 25 to 30 is what we'll be doing. We'll be doing
and again,
6 issues.
the Ed Brubaker run from what year would this been?
It's Captain America 2004 is what it's called in Marvel Unlimited.
So these specific issues would have been around 2007.
2007. I think it's like February 07, and it takes a 3-month break for Fallen Sun, written by Jeff Loeb, which we will not be reading, and then it came back. It's broken into 3 6-part chapters, so we'll be taking 3 episodes for this.
Not all at once. Just
no,
that's
not all at once. Just the first part.
Yeah, we gotta read some Madam Web after that. Maybe. But what else do we have going on, Chris? How is the Your Stupid Minds podcast going? Did y'all take a break as well for a month?
No, of course not.
Oh my God!
We're rolling right through the holidays. We covered 2 Christmas movies, one with Trish Stratus, one with Jim Carrey. Yes,
Trish Stratus was in a movie?
She was in a Christmas movie. It was great. We had a lot of fun talking about it. It was a very silly movie, and also the movie posited that she was a child star 25 years ago. And I was like, I remember Trish Stratus 24 years ago. I don't think she was a child.
Sorry, Vince, she's a wrestler.
I picked up on that. That's like how in Venom 2 we had to believe that Woody Harrelson was somehow 16 years old in 1993.
It was like, I have memories of this guy at that age, or this woman in this case. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Jim Carrey's A Christmas Carol, not a lot of fun. In fact, it was very bad.
The episode was really good, though, Chris. When you started wanting to, I think, change the Christmas Ghost of Christmas Present to Mike Myers' Fat Bastard.
Yes.
Made me laugh out loud in my car. I won't spoil it for y'all.
Great.
Would have been better than what we got. And then we just this week released another episode. We're doing Worst of 2024, and so we started with Freelance, John Cena and Allison Brie doing a action comedy, Romancing the Stone, Jungle Cruise, one of those kinds of movies.
I saw a preview for that when I was scrolling through Netflix. I'm like, I like John Cena, I like Allison Brie, and then I saw like the next day, like it came up on your list, and I'm like, oh no, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad
and it has like a 6% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's an action comedy that forgets to be funny completely.
Oh no.
Y'all gonna do the Marines starring the Miz next? You should do you could probably sustain the podcast just on wrestler movies, I think.
I think we've just done a text review of the Marine one, and then we did a podcast of 12 rounds with John Cena. And I think that's the only John Cena movies we've covered before now.
Yeah, with Littlefinger as the bad guy, right?
Yes, which that movie was actually okay. I like that better than Freelance. It's just an action movie, and it just steals Die Hard with a Vengeance's plot.
Amazing.
Without the race stuff.
Great. Vince, what's going on with you?
I'm getting excited for the new Yakuza Like a Dragon game. There's the third one in the last 12 months is finally coming out. I'm excited.
Hooray.
And then I've been playing some Spider-Man 2, and I was on a recent episode of Games My Mom Found for the best of 2023. I'm the last segment. I talk about Mortal Kombat 1. So Games My Mom Found, you can check that out. Chris has been on several episodes talking about Sandman, I believe. So, and Mike, the host, has been on for our Super Metroid episode. So check that out too.
Great. And I had some terrible holiday travels, but I am now playing the Miles Morales Spider-Man. I never finished the first one because it got taken off of PS Plus. But you know what? I'm sure it'll be back eventually, and I'll just jump to Miles Morales. It's fine. But yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. Those games, people say those games are samey. And I agree, and that's why I love them. It's a great design.
I would rather play. I think, Chris, you've been playing one of them on your Steam Deck. How does that work?
It works pretty well for the most part. There's times where I either have to turn the settings down or basically just switch to the PC when there's too much stuff on this, like the Harry Osborn science missions where there's like little things flying around on the screen. It doesn't like that. But if it's just like doing regular stuff, it works surprisingly well on the Steam Deck.
Cool.
But that's about all we've got, I think. Yeah. Let's wrap it up here. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I've been shot 7 times and hit with a harpoon.
No! I'm gonna quit school. All right. Well, listener, we love you too. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.